Chapter 110 Rude Awakening. Summary. She didn't mean to fall asleep, so when Mina wakes up, sluggish and confused, somewhere she doesn't remember falling asleep, she knows nothing good can come out of this. Itchy is the first thought that filters through Mina's head when she drifts back to consciousness. Something is prickling against her skin, and it's all she can focus on. She shifts slightly, trying to make the feeling go away so she can slip back under the warm waves of unconsciousness that had swaddled her only moments before. The itch only intensifies, dragging a weak, discontented groan from her sleep-scratchy throat. What am I even laying on that's so uncomfortable? She thinks grumpily. Last she remembered, she was collapsing onto the far too empty bed after rummaging through the closet to find a nice sleep shirt and leggings. She'd even found some socks, which was a shock. And yes, she slept in socks. Sue her! Her feet got cold easily, and she was not a very sedentary sleeper. The plan had been to wait a little while until the aliens from this planet fell asleep, before grouping back up with the others for the regular nightly cuddle-puddle. But she must have fallen asleep. Mina doesn't remember falling asleep. That's probably not good. Opening her eyes feels much more difficult than it should, but she's able to crack them a sliver. It's only then she notices the warm light behind her eyelids, now shining harshly in her eyes. Slamming her eyes shut, Mina tries to get her hands under herself instead. But as with her eyes, moving her arms is harder than it should be, like moving through water fully clothed. Everything is just not right. Her heartbeat is loud in her ears as she gets to her knees. Squinting one eye open meets her with green, and while she can't remember the color of the bedsheets she'd collapsed on, they sure as hell were not grass green. Her fingers trail through the tickling blades, and her panic is partially replaced by confusion. How the hell did I get outside? All around her are trees, not quite brown trunks stretching far above. It seemed like she was in a clearing of sorts, by the way the sun beat down on her, but damp to light shadows amongst the trees. Little weird blobby alien plants speckled the tree line, yellow stalks reaching out towards the bright, warm light. Wait. Mina looked at where the light had been shining on her bare arms for who knows how long. It didn't feel warm. It didn't feel like sunlight. Squinting up, Mina's eyes catch on the sun immediately, because it wasn't a sun at all. A big, glowing bulb was settled in the blue ceiling, just at the edge of what the tree line exposed. Speaking of which, why was there a blue domed ceiling above her? So, not outside after all, but that just made the question of where the hell she was even more prominent. Drawing to her feet, Mina takes a closer look around her. Despite the sky being fake, the forest surrounding her certainly looks real. The grass is plush under her toes, and when she steps, the ground is soft like dirt. She finds her feet carrying her to the cover of the trees, watchful eyes scanning the forest every step of the way. Deep breaths help her to calm her racing heart and shake off the last of that unnatural sleep, because there's no way that was normal. She doesn't just fall asleep like that in new places. Not anymore, at least. And there was nothing right about her sluggish thoughts and body when she woke up. Okay, so, drugged and moved who knows where. That's great, but where are the others? Are they here too? In their rooms? Or maybe somewhere else entirely? If it's the first option, then she's got the best chance of finding them if she starts walking. If not, well, she's guessing the sun marks the center of the indoor forest, given it's at the highest point of the domed ceiling. Turning in the opposite direction, She figures that eventually she has to hit a wall. It's odd, walking through the forest. At first, she can't put her finger on what's so odd about it. It just feels lacking. Then she realized what was missing. It's practically silent. No bugs chittering, or small birds singing, or animals scurrying about. The forest feels dead. No breeze ruffles the leaves, and the air tastes stale on her tongue. Every small noise she makes sets her on edge, causing her to slow her pace and step carefully. Even with how silent the forest is, she only notices the sound of footsteps when they're all too close. Through the trees, she spots him. It's the army guy from yesterday. Earlier that day? How long had she been asleep? The one who gave her odd looks reminiscent of the one she'd get from Quercus on Earth, judging the odd color of her skin and the presence of her horns. A look she hadn't gotten since their arrival in space. It had felt odd to get it then, but she'd been so sore and tired from hours of rescue work, she had brushed it off. But there was the guy again, walking through the forest, head on a swivel, like he was looking for something. Immediately, Mina stopped in her tracks. She wasn't sure if it was the creepy forest or the creepy look the guy had given her, but she really, really didn't want him to spot her. Problem was, he was close, maybe 10 meters away, only barely obscured by a couple of trees. And there wasn't exactly anywhere to hide. So she froze, eyes locked on the man. He was thin, like the rest of the sentients on this planet, though she knew he was stronger than he looked. Izuku's best guess for this Deathworlder species quirk was some sort of strength enhancement. Many of the people in the rescue effort lifting massive slabs of concrete Mina wouldn't be able to, even with how fit she was. His skin was a pale purple that faded into white on its ridges, where flesh melded with more of a bug-like carapace. He was dressed differently to how he was before. Showy military-style uniform exchanged for tactical gear. An axe is gripped in his long fingers, and she can see knife holsters secured on his body. She should move. She knows she should move, but there's something about his searching gaze, his methodical gait, that makes her hair stand on end. Getting spotted is the last thing she wants right now, but she's got nowhere to hide, and if she doesn't move, he's going to spot her eventually. Black eyes lock onto hers, and his lipless mouth stretches into a too wide grin, needle-like teeth on display. None of the other sentients here smiled at them with teeth. Every grin, every appreciative smile, had been closed-mouthed, like she'd grown used to. Careful not to show teeth, because just like in most places, smiling and baring teeth wasn't a good sign. It was a threat, a sign of dominance, a communication of anger, a readiness to attack. She's moving before she even registers the glint of metal flying through the air. The axe makes a thunk as it embeds in the tree she'd been in front of. Fear and shock and betrayal course through her body as her gaze flicks from the weapon that could have killed her to the one who'd thrown it. Grin now even wider. He tried to kill her. She was running before he could even take a step closer. Get out. She needed to get out of wherever here was. She needed to find her family and get the hell off this planet. What in the fuck was going on? Deep chuckling came from behind her. Far away, but not far enough. She hadn't heard him speak before. She didn't even know his name. But she knew when the words reached her ears that it was him saying them, without a doubt. Now this will be a hunt to remember.